Well, I'll tell you, a day that started with song and prayer and a lot of hopefulness and excitement about the potential release of these detainees, as you said, within an hour turned into people being arrested. What I could see from behind this big crowd was just a sort of a surge, a crowd surge. And before you knew it, you saw Broadview police, and they began to pull people from the crowd. I can't say that I saw exactly what led to the arrest of the particular people I saw, but we saw at least 4 people handcuffed, many of them tossed on the ground, held down as they were handcuffed, and carted off. I will say that earlier today, I understand that typically the crowd is on either side of the street, and you could probably see that from our shot. There's the road in the middle right now filled with police is usually clear. But earlier today, for some reason, the people on the area on the right was closed off. So what we had was everybody cramming into the small space on the left, and then finally they opened the other side and people began to move. But we noticed that the crowd wasn't as big as it typically is on the right side. There were still a lot of people on this other side. So with that said, it was just an area that was really, really full. All of a sudden you saw crowd surges, and as I said, we have those shots of people being pulled out by officers, handcuffed, and taken away. So again, it was a day that started with a lot of excitement, even though we don't know where those detainees that Anita mentioned will be released. They have been spread out all over the country. There was hope that maybe some would be released here from Broadview. We never saw any of that. And in fact, many said if anybody was being released from Broadview, we would most likely not see them. In the past, they have taken them to gas stations or sort of random places and dropped them off when people have been released. That was the case with an Oak Park trustee that testified before Judge Gettleman, and or I believe that was Judge Ellis. So many court cases to cover. It's getting confusing. But at any rate, we don't know what will happen with all of those detainees, but people are very excited that is happening, and it could lead to hundreds of releases because, of course, these people were arrested without a warrant. That was the gist of it, that they should be arrested with a warrant, and they had no criminal histories, so the judge ruled that they should be released. So right now, things seem to have calmed down a bit. You see a big police presence right here in this street, and things seem smooth now. We do not know what happened to the people led away in handcuffs. I saw them dragged out, and I'm not sure who took them into custody. But that's the latest here in Broadview.
Yeah, Roseanne, you know, it's worth noting that you mentioned several court cases. One of them kind of is still out there, and that regards the Supreme Court and the issue of the National Guard. And the president says that's still on the table. He still wants the Supreme Court to bring the National Guard here, to allow them to be deployed here. Who are the different agencies that you're seeing out there right now? It looked like we saw state troopers. Who else?
The sheriff's left, the state took over.
Yeah, the state police, they have the command center here, as I understand it. But we did see Broadview police, several squad cars arrived. So those are the two agencies I see.
The sheriffs made the arrests.
And sheriffs, apparently, Cook County sheriffs making the arrests that we saw. But again, as I said, the state police right now is who you see. The bulk of those officers are state police.
Now, Roseanne, when things kind of took a turn, could you give us an idea of about, I guess, how long would you say that interaction was? Are we talking 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there? And from your viewpoint, could you have an idea of, are we talking a couple of people arrested, less than a dozen? Could you just provide some perspective on what happened maybe about in the last half an hour?
Yeah, right. I saw at least 4 people arrested, so potentially several. And it did go on for about 15 or 20 minutes. There was a skirmish. It kind of came in waves. There was one person dragged out, and then the crowd surged again, and then there was another person and 2 people. So it went on over the course of about, I would say, 20 minutes. And honestly, I don't know that we're out of the woods yet. Things have calmed down, but again, these are coming in waves, and emotions are running very high out here this afternoon.
Absolutely. And then again, just kind of going down the list of court cases, there was also the case that was brought by the protesters about the protesting hours that started at 9 o'clock.
That's right. But for now, it is still limited. And that is a rule from the Village of Broadview that the protests happen between 9 and 6. It was interesting today that I saw plenty of protesters here by 8:30, but they weren't officially protesting. You know, they today have megaphones and that kind of thing. So things got kicked off at 9 o'clock. And then, of course, the other thing that was happening out here that brought us out here yesterday was the tour. The tour of, you know, a judge and several attorneys got a chance to see behind those boarded up windows. Elected officials and attorneys of detainees have been trying to get in that facility for a long time. But it was finally this magistrate judge working in conjunction with Judge Gettleman, the U.S. District Court judge. She's the one that came out as part of the discovery and joined a 4-hour tour of this facility. Photographs were taken. As far as I know, none of those have been released, and I'm sure everything will be, you know, vetted before we get a chance to see what they found. But of course, they were looking to see if the folks here are in line following the rules set forth in the temporary restraining order issued by Judge Gettleman. So that meant that they were to be providing phones for the detainees here, opportunities to shower every other day, bedding, because of course we heard from many people who said they were sleeping for days sitting up in a crowded cell. They complained about not enough food, not enough water, you know, toilets overflowing, and many other issues. So they got a first-hand look yesterday, and I'm sure we'll be hearing much more about their tour in the coming days.
And Roseanne, when you're out there, we were talking about some of the agencies there. Most of those arrests of the people who have been detained have been happening by ICE. Are you seeing any ICE agents or anybody from Homeland Security in addition to the, I guess, sheriff deputies and sheriff's police that you mentioned that are kind of out there patrolling and keeping that situation under control?
I have not, but again, we are held back by a huge crowd, and so not able to necessarily get up there and see. But from what we could see, and our camera got a better view, it's Cook County sheriffs mostly, state police too.
Yeah, and let's just talk about the difference in what we're seeing from like September, before many of these court cases really got going, when it was more federal agents. I mean, as we even zoom in here, you're seeing these law enforcement agents kind of standing at attention. They are charged with crowd control, i.e. they're not really doing much unless the crowd gets out of control and steps out of the zone that they're supposed to be in. But before, we were seeing like tear gas and things of that nature. Just kind of juxtapose what we saw before versus what you're seeing now.
Yes. Well, you know, as it turns out, I had not been to cover Broadview, so I haven't actually been out here when all of this was occurring. I saw it on TV like everybody else, those earlier scenes where the tear gas was released on the crowds. And yes, this was very different. This did not escalate to that degree. And again, could it be because it's state police? I don't know. I can only tell you that it definitely didn't escalate to that point, although protesters were dragged out and handcuffed. But again, no use of any chemical agents, nothing approaching that, and no ICE agents that I can see.
All right. Well, thank you, Roseanne. We appreciate it. We want you to stay safe. Just kind of looking around at the crowd. Another aspect was that when we did see the tear gas and things of that nature, people started to wear PPE, and they were ready for it. And you do see a few people out there with helmets and masks, just kind of prepared for anything that may happen. You see one person going by right there with a helmet on.
Yes.
So, again, we will check back in with Roseanne. If anything else kind of flares up, we will take you back there live. But we appreciate you being here. And Roseanne, you stay safe out there.
And we will definitely keep you updated here on.
Okay, we'll keep you posted.
Right,
thank you
so much, Roseanne. And we will keep you updated if anything changes out there. We will definitely bring that latest to you here on Fox 32 Chicago. For now.